Okay, here's a quick tour of my sim. We're currently on the World Flight events, which is why you can hear ATC in the background. This is a very simple MDF cut out of a 737 simulator using various modules that are available on the market at very low cost. We have down here, this is very simple, we have our charts for Fuerteventura, where we're taking off from. We have a flight plan form here, which I can write down all my ATC notes and all that kind of stuff. Mouse and keyboard, we need to ignore you because this is the whole point of making a sim. So as you can see, we've got what looks very much like a Microsoft flight sim experience here. I've just put it on the top down view so you can kind of see the traffic here in World Flight on the VATSIM network, rather than my POV view. This is Flight Simulator 2004, not Flight Simulator X. Just the reason being that I have lots and lots of scenery for 2004, lots of upgrades, and apart from the reflective water and the inertia effects, it pretty much behaves like the same piece of software. Before I forget, right down here behind the seat we have the Butt Kicker Gamer, which as many of you will know provides sonic energy from low frequency, converts it to actual movement, so we can feel the engine noises as we fly. We can feel the flaps, transitions, the gear thuds, all that kind of stuff, so that's pretty cool. It's quite cheap actually, it's about £110, something like that. And there's a little amp doing its stuff down there. We have a couple of speakers here which will output all my flight simulator sound, and down here is my little ATC speaker, and we have another one down here for anybody who just wants to sit to my left. So we have a cutout system. Lots of you may be familiar with this. You get a piece of wood, you cut the squares out, you put the monitors behind them, and it looks like you've got real working screens and real working dials, and that's pretty much how it works. Stick your monitors behind, undock your 2D panels, and off you go. But over here we are actually using the ProSim software to run all this output. So these are the standby dials. Again, they're lined up behind the cutouts. So when we sit in our seat here, it looks a bit like we've got actual dials on the 2D panel. This is the GoFlight warning panel. It's something that you can program yourself, and you get these little cutouts that you can just slip behind this metal 2D panel, and there's a piece of software which allows you to program the situations that should occur behind the cutouts that you put in. So we've got stall, we've got landing lights for me, we've got the door open or closed. So if I can demonstrate that, I can open the door, or can I? Yes, I can. So if I open my door, with any luck, we have our little light appear, and you can also cancel out flashing warning signs, which is pretty cool. So these are actually push buttons as well. This is the EFIS, GoFlight EFIS. These are all GoFlight modules, as I said. So this is the GoFlight EFIS, which I can change the modes. It's all very responsive, it's very quick. Lots of buttons here which correspond with the 737, so I can display data, airport, waypoint, stations. The weather doesn't work. We have our MCP, so I can command Flight Director or auto throttle. The LEDs won't light up because my engines aren't on, but we've got all our rotaries here, so I can control speed, I control altitude. The lighting underneath, this is a very low profile LED strip that you can get from, well, I got from Halfords here in the UK. They're kind of things that people put under their cars make the cars glow from underneath. But it's a very low profile strip. I've put a stop gel underneath it, and I've also put a straw gel underneath it, so it changes the tone of the colour and it changes the brightness down, because this is not a dimmable lighting system. We've got an FMC output here, which is being used, which is basically a USB screen. It basically is a Mimo 7-inch. I wish I bought the 10, but there we go. And it's a proper working touch screen, so it's very responsive. There's been some reviews on Amazon that say it doesn't really work very well, but as you can see, what I'm doing here, it seems to work pretty good for me. So go and get that if you want a low budget CDU. Get this. This is absolutely fantastic. This is the VR Insight M panel. The black thing here, it's got a gear and flap control, but we don't use that because, as you can see, I've got the Cytec throttle quadrant. I can tune into my VORs and my ADF, NDBs. I can tune into my COM panel, but I don't need that because I've got another module back here. But that's what I use it for. That's why I've kept it here, to use my nav and to use my ADFs. This is the GoFlight module, the LGT, the landing gear module, which, if you haven't seen it demonstrated, you can sort of move your gear up, put it into a lock position, move the gear down. You've got a flap control here, but as I said, I've got the throttle quadrant. You've got a sort of a switch control here, which you can assign various commands to. I've got my engine 1 and engine 2 start assigned to this, but I've lost the label. Got your LEDs here that show your free greens and your free reds. You've got your trim wheel, you've got your aileron trim, and you've got your rudder trim. So the Cytec throttle quadrant is 2 throttles, put together. It's all USB. So we've got 2 engine control for my 737. You've got your flaps and you've got your speed brakes. You've got push buttons here, which are being assigned various commands. I've got my engine idle, cut off, seatbelt signs. The LED lights you can see are from a basic DIY store, the kind of stuff you put under your kitchen cabinets. I've crudely stuck them on. Would have loved to have done something better with that, but I've retrofitted as I've gone along. I guess that's the beauty of having a home-built cockpit. It's just a bit of a project. This is the VR Insight switch panel, which behaves a little bit like an extension to your joystick. So you've got loads of more buttons to play with and assign things to. The great thing about the iFly, and I guess the PMDG as well, is that you can assign all of its commands to various button switches and or toggle switches or whatever. So I've got all sorts of things going on here. This is the GoFlight radio module. It's got its transponder, so you can change your transponder code by rotating and pushing and rotating. And it's the same thing with your COM as well. You rotate and then you push and rotate. This is a third computer, which is outputting FS Real-Time. FS Real-Time is a small piece of software which allows you to sync your simulator to GMT perfectly, and it also changes through the time zones that you fly through, so it will sort out your clock as you fly through various time zones, and it will keep everything synced perfectly. So when you start doing your drop down menus and hitting pause or whatever, it just keeps everything synced. And the FSUIPC sync option that Peter Townsend put together on his software does the same, but this just does a little bit more. It's a little bit more accurate, in my opinion. But there you go, the jury's out. This is the payload manager. This is a free piece of software, a payload manager, which uses WideFS. This is a WideFS system, obviously, and this will allow me to fuel my aircraft without using the drop downs, and it also monitors everything else like rudders and throttles and trim control. Up here we have a computer which is currently outputting FS Commander. This is my little dispatch computer, so it can do flight plans and charts and things like that, and at the moment I've got on the wall the world flight schedule. So there we go, it's a 3-computer system. Computer 1 is doing flight sim, computer 2 down there is doing Squawk Box and Pro Sim, computer 3 is doing FS Real Time Payload Manager and FS Commander. But it can obviously, these 2 computers can obviously do other things if I want them to. Play movies, vRoute, you know, pretty much anything, serve info, VAT spy, that kind of stuff. So all I need is another laptop. I get another laptop. But there we go. Oh, and the clock. I need to talk about the clock. The clock is not real. I was inspired by some flight simulators, professional flight simulators that I've flown, where they have fake clocks, and I asked them why they had fake clocks, and they said, who needs a clock in the sim when you have a watch? But there we go. I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.